Alright, as I promised, in this video we're going to make our project responsive on different screen sizes. For that we're going to use CSS media queries. Actually, I think it will be better if we start working at first on form container. So in order to make process more convenient, let's hide banner for a while and display form. So let's assign to banner display none. As for form container, let's comment those properties out. Actually, I'm not going to change background. Let's leave it for a while because now our point is to make form responsive. Alright, if you want to check your web page on different screen sizes, would be better if we use inspector and also switch device toolbar into responsive mode. So the first breakpoint on which form container needs some changes is 850 pixels because, as you see, form is getting messed up. So let's create first CSS media query, write @ media, and inside parentheses as a max width, let's indicate 850 pixels. So it means that we will change some properties and values which should be applied to form until screen size exceeds 850 pixels. Let's select form container and decrease its width and height. Set width as 600 pixels. As for height, assign to it 400 pixels. So as you see, size of form container is decreased, but elements inside it need some changes. At first, I'm going to decrease padding for sign up form. Let's select it and then write padding on top and bottom. Write 50 pixels and then 30 pixels on left and right sides. Alright, next let's work on input elements. Select them using common class form input. At first, let's decrease width, make it 200 pixels. Then change font size, set it as 14 pixels. Also, I think we don't need such big margin at the bottom, so let's write margin bottom 30 pixels. And lastly, change padding. On top and bottom write 7 pixels and 0 on left and right sides. Alright, that's all about form inputs. Next element that I want to select is paragraph. So write sign up form P. Let's change font size, make it 15 pixels. After paragraph, let's work on labels and checkbox. So select label element, write sign up form label, and decrease its font size as well, write 13 pixels. Alright, after labels, I'm going to select checkbox because, as you see, we need to decrease its size. So let's write sign up form, then input element, and inside square brackets, write type checkbox. I'm going to change width and height. As a width, write 25 pixels. As for height, let's set it as 12 pixels. Alright, so checkbox is looking good, but we need to make some changes for circle. I mean, we need to decrease its size as well. Let's use this selector and add before pseudo element. Then change width and height. Set width as 14 pixels. And then height 14 pixels as well. Okay, so with checkbox we are done. Let's go ahead and work on button. Select it, write sign up form button. First of all, I want to decrease space between checkbox and button. So let's set margin top as 50 pixels. Next, let's change size of button, define width as 120 pixels. Also, I think would be better if we decrease a little bit padding on top and bottom right 6 pixels and then 4 pixels on right and left. Then change font size, set it as 13 pixels. And lastly, I want to decrease width of border. For that, we can use property called border width and assign to it 1 pixel. Alright, that's it about button. And actually, for left side of form container, we don't need any more changes at this breakpoint. As for right side, I need here just to decrease font size of heading. So let's select it, write header H1 and set font size as 30 pixels. Alright, so on that breakpoint, everything seems to be okay for form container. Next breakpoint on which we need some changes, I think, is approximately 650 pixels. So let's create new CSS media, indicate max width as 650 pixels. So on smaller screen sizes, I'm going to hide header at all. Let's select it and assign to it display none. Then select form container and change its width, make it smaller, right, 300 pixels. So that's the way how our form is looking for now. By default, sign up form takes up 50% of form container, and in this case we need to increase it to 100%. So select sign up form and assign to it with 100%. Alright, so that's all about form container. It's responsive on different screen sizes, and now we need to do the same for banner. Let's get back default styles, remove display none, and also get rid of comments from those two properties. So the first breakpoint on which banner needs some changes is 800 pixels, because after that screen size, you see that banner is getting messed up. So let's create new CSS media query with max width as 800 pixels. Then select banner element, decrease its width, make it 450 pixels. After that, we need to make some changes for heading. So let's select it, write banner heading. First of all, let's decrease font size, make it 60 pixels. Then I think that we don't need such big space between heading and arrow. So let's set margin bottom as 40 pixels. And lastly, will be better if we decrease width of those borders, right, border width 4 pixels. Alright, regarding heading, we don't need to do anything. Let's move on to arrow. I'm going to change its size, make it smaller, so let's select it using class arrow and set its font size as 30 pixels. And last element which we need to take care of is button, so let's select it using class banner btn. At first, let's set its width as 150 pixels, then decrease padding, make it 10 pixels, and lastly change font size, right, 15 pixels. Alright, so on that breakpoint, banner is looking good, everything works fine. Next screen size on which banner is messed up is 500 pixels. So create another media query, write max width 500 pixels. Actually, on that breakpoint, I want just to decrease width of banner and font size for heading. So let's select banner, assign to it width 300 pixels, then select banner heading and decrease font size, make it 40 pixels. Alright, that's it. We can say that our project is fully responsive on different screen sizes. If we check both parts, then you will see that everything seems to be working perfectly. Okay, now it's time to move on to next project, so let's go ahead.